Hello everybody and welcome to the video. If you're new here, welcome in. If you're coming back, welcome back. Happy to have you. Today, as you saw in the thumbnail and the title, we are going to be talking about and drawing Generation Loss. Yes, this is going to be a official fan art piece, not a concept or anything like that. This is an actual full-on piece. And we're going to be talking about Generation Loss because it has been on my brain for a very long time, and now the internet is going crazy over it, and it's great. So if you like what you see and you want to see more of it, let me know in the comments below. Do you like seeing me doing fan art? Do you want to see more of my original characters? Etc, etc. Just tell me what you guys want to see, if you like it, if you enjoyed. Be sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already. Without further ado, let's just jump into it because I have a lot to say about this. So let's just get started. First and foremost, I want to say that this first section of the sketching will be spoiler free. But when we get into the coloring section, it will contain some spoilers. Just want to get that straight out of the way because it's almost impossible to talk about how much I love this show and story without spoiling any of it. So just have that in your mind for the coloring section, okay? Okay. First and foremost, I want to give a big props and congratulations to Ranboo, or Ranboo, however you want to pronounce it. I doubt he's going to see this, but on the off chance that he does, congratulations. This was a huge accomplishment to do. I can only think and recount of two other times, not including yours, projects where it was something similar to this. And that would be Project A63, and then what Markiplier has done with his whole Markiverse that he's got going on, and all his really awesome projects that he's done. So congratulations, because this is genuinely fantastic, and it wasn't made with a huge giant company or what have you, and it was awesome. It was fantastic, and I'm so excited and eager to see what you have in store. I'm also extremely excited to see what MatPat does with the 3 episodes that we've gotten, because it is so enriched with lore. I mean, the trailer alone was like 30 seconds, 20, I think. And it was so just compact, full of lore for this universe and this story. And it's fantastic. Ranboo's writing style is it's very simple, but if you don't pay attention to the details, you're gonna miss something. And it's so just cool, and I love it, and I think it's fantastic. There's no mistakes with his writing, and I think that's super cool. Enough about me gawking over his writing for just a second and the story overall for just a second. Let's firstly talk about the piece itself, because I haven't talked about what this drawing is and if it's spoiler free and what have you. So this piece, it has themes of the actual stream, and if you've watched it, then you know that. But it's not really full of spoilers. It's pretty basic. It's pretty spoiler free. Okay, but there's this giant theme within the universe of TVs and VHS tapes, which is just such a fun. I love the whole concept of like finding things and then having the lore expand through that, like with the Magnus archives that happen with the forms and the archives, and then they were converted into MP3 players, and it's just like you're reading into these things, or you're watching them, or you're listening to them, and it's just such a fun way to tell a story, in my opinion, because it's sort of like you're learning with them what's happening, and it leaves you with more questions, and it's fantastic. So, because a big story element to this series is VHS tapes and super old TVs, I of course had to include that. I mean, it'd be a crime not to, right? Like, I couldn't not do it. And I was looking at a bunch of inspiration on Pinterest as well, because of course I was, and I came up with this whole like TV wall type ordeal. So let's move on to coloring. artistically, I did try a bunch of new things with this piece, which was sort of scary because I really liked how the line work turned out. So I was really, really worried that I was going to screw it up. But basically what I did, and you'll see it later on, is I used gradients. I haven't used gradients for coloring per se, in like ever. So this was new, and it was very cool. It was very fun. I felt like I was painting, because I essentially used the gradient, and then I used a watercolor brush over it, so that way the colors would layer on top of the color underneath, so it had the warm tones and then progressively went down to the cool tones, if that makes any remote sense. And as for the background, I wanted to keep it simple. I've been trying to practice and mess around with background styles, as far as shading and coloring goes, because I feel like my style in and of itself is pretty simple, especially with the coloring. It's pretty basic, pretty simple. It has texture. It's nothing super realistic. And backgrounds I always tend to make super, super detailed, and that can be great in some instances, but it can really, really take away focus in others. So I wanted to keep Ranboo as the center, the forefront, and then the background be darker to contrast that. And I feel like I was pretty successful in my coloring in this piece. I think it looks very, very good, and I love it. I love it a lot. Like, I genuinely love this piece so, so much. And if anyone is interested, and I would have to double check on Ranboo's boundaries regarding all this, I would be more than happy to sell a print of this, because again, I really like how it turned out. But yes, there's your reminder that I have a print store. It's on InPrint. I'll link it down in the description below if you're interested. Anyways, we are now entering spoiler territory, okay? So just, if you haven't watched Generation Lost as a stream, and you want to, and you don't want spoilers, now is your time to leave, okay? If you're interested in the final piece, I will drop the timestamp of where it is. Just don't listen. La 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 la. Okay? Are they all gone? Great. Now, this story is genuinely, I strongly believe, one of the coolest things to hit YouTube. And that's saying a lot, because there have been a lot of very extremely creative, sort of indie films, I suppose you could call them, that have popped up over the years of YouTube, but this is genuinely, at least in my opinion, gotta be up there with it. Now granted, it did take place on Twitch, not YouTube, that's where it originates, but my point still stands. It's fantastic. The sets are beautiful, the costuming is interesting and extremely cool, the story is interesting and it's captivating, and it sort of throws you off guard. I think a lot of people, including myself, were extremely thrown off guard with the first episode. Because when I first heard about Generation Lost and I watched MatPat's whole dissection of the trailer, I was like, oh wow, so this is going to be like a really cool upcoming indie horror type project, passion project, that's coming from a pretty famous streamer. One who, by the way, I'm not going to sit here and claim that, oh, I loved Ranboo since day one. No, don't get me wrong, I always enjoy whenever Ranboo is on with other people that I watch, such as Slimesicle, or even like whenever I vaguely watch some streamers and YouTubers of the Dream SMP. Don't get me wrong, I loved whenever they appeared on screen and were making videos with those people, but I never actively watched his streams, mostly because they weren't for me, personally. I've been trying to watch their streams more, just so that I can get a feel for what they make, because I was just genuinely curious. But that's aside the point. Overall, the filmmaking and the production of this it's very prominent that it was a well-loved project. The cinematography is fantastic, especially in the later shots, the later episodes. But like I said, I do think that a lot of people got whiplash from the series. I know that I personally did, because I was under the assumption and guise of like, oh, this is going to be a scary horror indie film. Like, this is going to be something that's going to be running up next to like the Mandela catalogs or what have you. And the first episode was silly, it was goofy, and it was fun. And it just wasn't the vibe that I think a lot of people were expecting, but I think that just makes it even more fantastic, to be honest. It just makes it extremely fascinating to me because it's an illusion. That's what it is. It's an illusion. It's the illusion of that big bad company is trying to sell you. And it's fantastic storytelling, to be honest. It was, it was a curveball. I was talking with my best friend about it, and she was like, yeah, I started watching it, and I was kind of weird because it wasn't really scary, it was like goofy, and I was like, yeah, trust me, I get it, but stick with it, and you'll like it. It gets a lot better. And honestly, I haven't seen many these types of indie films and passion projects where the community is so heavily involved. What I mean by that is like where the community gets to either help solve the mysteries or make choices. And I think that's genuinely such a cool thing that was incorporated in this series. It's one of the reasons why this is one of my favorite YouTube and Twitch indie films, I guess is what I should say, not because it was on Twitch. But anyways, and that's why it reminds me so much of Project 863. If you don't know what Project 863 is, it was a YouTube series that was made by a YouTuber named Matthias. If you like Generation Lost, you'll probably like Project 863. So I would strongly recommend it. It's really, really good. Anyways, back on track. I genuinely, I loved this. I did. I enjoyed the ride the entire time. I didn't watch it when it was screening. I didn't watch it when it was live. But watching it even just from YouTube was absolutely fantastic. It was such a joy to just be a part of and to watch. It was so fantastic. Just the cinematography, the writing, the awkwardness, the intentional awkwardness. Everything was intentional within the series. And it's also just really cool to watch other people that I knew and recognized and be like, oh, you're in here as well. That's really cool. It's just a lot of fun. Like, there's no other way that I can explain it, and I'm sure that it was even more fun to film. I would die. I would give my kidney and liver. I would give so many organs to be a part of that project because it just seemed so much fun, and I would have loved to, just work on it, to work on the set, to be a part of the crew, to work on the making the sets, the costumes, the everything, because I've been in a similar-ish production where it was live, and the amount of work that goes into live productions versus edited ones is unreal, which is why I just have even more respect for everyone who was a part of it, because I just don't think many people realize how much work goes into it. It's crazy, and I have so many different theories about whether or not Ranboo, first of all, at the end, was even in control of himself or not, which is just, it's just so good. It was so fantastic because everything was laid out for you. You pretty much knew what was going to happen, but it still shocked you in the end, or at least it shocked me. I figured that the person on the TV, I forgot his name, I know it starts with an S, I think. Editor me is gonna hate me. And listen, I'm the type of person who tries to figure things out before they actually happen. And let me just say, I figured some things out, I'll give myself that credit. I didn't trust that guy who was trying to help Ranboo, which means that we don't even know if we can completely trust whether or not when Ranboo was actually in control or not in control. And it also left the question of, well, if this is a gas that's being produced through the mask to make mind control, then how come the other ones don't have mind control? Or if they do, where's the gas emanating from? Is it from the ceiling? Is it from wherever? It has so many questions, and I'm sure Ranboo has plenty of answers, all in due time, but this is definitely one of those series where I am locked in because I have so many questions now. I mean, what are all the tapes? Who are we even portraying as? Like, who are we? Because we saw tape recorder being put in and what have you. What happened to Slime? What happened to Charlie? Is he even still alive? Are any of their friends still alive? What happened to Ranboo? Are they gonna become one of those robot things where like all their organs are replaced with blood? I mean, what happened? It's definitely one of those series that leaves you with a bunch of questions and leaves you wondering if you ever will get all those answers, and that is why I am so excited to see MatPat's take on everything, to see what he dissects, to see what he finds. I genuinely hope that he continues the series and continues with it, because I genuinely think it'll be the talk of the internet for a very long time, and will go down as, well, you know, one of the biggest series that have been produced on Twitch and YouTube. And I do hope it'll get an Emmy. I don't know if that has been announced, whether or not by the time that this video gets put out. But regardless, I hope so, because the cinematography and some of the shots are fantastic, guys. I mean, look at some of these. I'm going to show some of my favorites because I genuinely love it all. The costuming is so cool, and it's just, a lot of it is fantastic, and I'm extremely excited for the future. Sadly, some of the video did get corrupted when I was shading Ranboo and doing final touches, so sadly you don't get to see all of that. I know that I sort of jumped the gun from topic to topic, but with that, here is the final piece. And with that, I want to thank you all for watching, and please go watch Generation Lost if you haven't, and show Ranboo and all the cast and crew some love, because they did absolutely fantastic on this. Thank you all so much for watching. If you like the video and you like the art, be sure to subscribe, like the video, comment, etc, etc. And comment what you guys thought of Generation Lost. Was it what you expected? Was it everything and more? Let me down below. Without further ado, thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.